you know it's a Friday. Man, you know it's a Friday. You sit there and it's like you're trying to get all your buttons squared away. There we go. Hi. There's your buttons. Greetings from Huntsville, Alabama, home of the Blastoff Battle. And John, hear you there. It's going to be an interesting 2 hours today. We got some folks that got fired overnight, and we got folks that changed addresses after the show was over yesterday. We'll talk about that. And we've got we can preview stuff that we can get into. We've got a lot of different things to get into with Inter Miami and Messi and friends, because we have some developments there and some interesting notes from last night. And we'll get into Atlanta United, because Atlanta United has their last match, last match of the preseason behind closed doors. But we know what's going to happen, and we'll have results, and we'll have, just scores and things. Some teams, I'm guessing, still are going to tell you that nothing happened. Something happened, but nothing happened. Atlanta United playing Sporting Kansas City in Fort Lauderdale this weekend. We'll get into that in hour number 2. So there's plenty of stuff to get into, whatever's on your mind heading into the weekend. We'll go over all of the broadcast plans that we have here on the weekend on SDH. Very, very busy weekend for us, and it's going to be a fun weekend. Like I said, I'm up here in Huntsville, Alabama, to later today and Sunday. It is the Blastoff Battle with our friends at Huntsville City Football Club, and it is a doubleheader today and a doubleheader on what's 2 days from now? Sunday. So it is, you've got both of those doubleheaders happening, and it's going to be real fun to be over there and kind of see how things are as the season is getting underway in a bunch of different forms. And you think that it's only going to be one thing, but here at the network, it's two, because of Blastoff Battle that is going on with our friends up here in Huntsville. You've also got the high school games. Drew Dickinson and Jason last night called the match between Carrollton and Johns Creek. And, just when you thought that high school season's off and running and, you don't have a match on a Thursday, you got matches on Friday. And so tonight it'll be at Chapel Hill and Alexander, just the one game. And it'll be, I think, a 7:30 start. And it'll be fun to hear about what's going on with the boys' side of things with Chapel Hill and Alexander. Maddie caught up with the head coach, Coach Cuellar, out at Alexander. Really cool interview. Go listen to it at Soccer's in Session, and you can kind of see how coaches are early in the season. But a very, very cool interview with Coach Cuellar out at Alexander. So Chapel Hill and Alexander tonight. That is on our social media platforms. And just set your notifications if you want to listen to the high school match of the week. The SDH game of the week on Friday. That, I think, is at 7:30, and they'll be on a little beforehand, and they'll let you get the run of the high school games on Fridays. And doubleheader today here in Huntsville, a Blastoff Battle, and it is at 5 and 8 Eastern time, 4 and 7 here locally. So we'll be on a little before, and we'll get you ready for the two games. 4 o'clock today locally, 5 o'clock Eastern time, Chattanooga FC and South Georgia Tormenta. Then followed up by the two local teams that are going at it. It's going to be Alabama Huntsville and Huntsville City Football Club. That's at 8 o'clock. And then on Sunday, it's brunch. We get a noon kick Eastern time, 11 a.m. here in Huntsville, with Chattanooga FC and Alabama Huntsville going at it. And then the back end of the doubleheaders at 3:15 Eastern time, 2:15 Central, with Huntsville City Football Club and South Georgia Tormenta. So very, very cool stuff going on here in Huntsville. And that's all going to be broadcast on our live platform, and that is on Mixlr. For those of you that may not know where the large events are, it's at mixlr.com. And it's soccerdownhere.mixlr.com. You do a search, you do a Soccer Down Here search in Mixlr, it goes to our channel, and all the live games are there. All the high school games are there when they're not competing with other things. And so Blastoff Battle is going to be in our Mixlr channel. It's going to be live. And we got the doubleheader today and the doubleheader on Sunday. So everybody's heading up, I think, for the matchups on Sunday. So it's going to be really cool for all of us here at SDH to be a part of the kickoff tournament that's going on up here in Huntsville. Catch up with our friends at Hunt City and with South Georgia Tormenta and with Chattanooga FC. And it's been cool to get acquainted with our friends at Alabama Huntsville too. So we'll see where everybody is here early in the season. But it's something that they wanted to do to kick off the season. They wanted to challenge themselves and each other, and they get the chance to do that coming up in short order. Okay. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee at kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching on our various platforms. Could be on our YouTube channel, could be on the 280 character app, or with our friends on the Twitch. And what you get to do there, that's your QR code for Kickoff Coffee. With Kickoff Coffee, don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off of your purchase, and they in turn take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives, very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's not the only full screen that we're going to have, but that's the current full screen that we're going to have. And opening kickoff this morning, it's obviously it's about our friends at Messing and Friends. And yesterday, we got into, and this whole week really, we've gotten into the deep dive about Miami and where they are and their build and how things are, how do we say this, adventurous for them when it comes to building everything and trying to become roster compliant. We do have an interesting response from the league about the story that came out from the Athletic, and so we'll get into that too. But last night it was Inter Miami and Newell's Old Boys, and it was a 1-1 draw. That was initially a 1-0 lead that turned into a 1-1 draw by the time the 90 minutes were up. So leading into that match, we got some news about how Messi and Friends are attempting to become compliant. And once again, remember, it's a part of a larger picture and a larger discussion that we get into here at SDH about, hey, we'd like to know, we'd like to know what's going on. We'd like to see and know how much room folks have. How can they do things like in other sports? And you end up with the ideas across the board that there are, there's some things that Major League Soccer needs to work on that I think that would make a more informed fan. And one of those is trying to figure out roster rules. And as it turned out, one of the names that we had mentioned is on the move to one of the countries that still had an open window, and one of the countries that, we had anticipated that the moving was going to happen. It was Gregory. And Gregory, with his compensation package just under $1 million, what that does, Botafogo finalized the deal to sign Gregory from Inter Miami. So that's a piece. Globo first reported it. Globo says the fee's around $2.8 million. Good piece of business for Messi and Friends, for them to move Gregory for that kind of financials. And then what you're doing is you take away all of that salary that's attached, and then you can convert some of that $2.8 million into general allocation money. So now you're getting there. I don't need to, and but we say getting there, but we don't know how much there has to be to continue to get there and get across the finish line. So he wasn't in the match day squad against Newell's. No surprise, because if he's being moved, then you're trying to sit there, A, to keep him healthy, and B, to make sure that everything is okay, that he can be out and around and he can work his way down to Botafogo. You end up with the conversations that Tom Bogert had with MLS Executive Vice President Todd Durbin. Quote, based on very recent conversations with them, meaning Messi and Friends, in the last 24 hours, they will be compliant and are currently looking at what they need to do to make sure they will be so at the start of the season. So basically, they've got a week to get it all squared away. We talked about all of the moving pieces that are there that need to be moved or could be moved because of their cap hit, because of the salary that's attached, all those kinds of things. Look at the big names, look at the big stars, or just look at the folks that have the big cap hits and are assets to you that can be moved. So Gregory, remember, was a DP last year. He hit that cap. I think the fixed figure is what, 600,000, I think is what the figure is. And now what Miami can do is they can send somebody else and turn them into that DP, because that DP slot is now open. So Luis Suarez, think about what you can do there. There's a little bit of that roster juggling that you can square away. And so also, you don't have to use the allocation money to buy them down, which is what was the other option here. It's like, if you were anywhere close to being roster compliant, then you're looking at Gregory and you're going, okay, we could buy him down. If you were close to being compliant, he turns into a high TAM player, and you go from there. Now you also have the one-time contract buyout. And I know that folks were looking at a player like Coco Jean, and that might be a part of the equation too. And so literally what you can do is you take a player, we know about it here in Atlanta with Joseph Martinez, you allow them to remove that one player from the cap if you need. So we went over the numbers yesterday. Just to remind you, once again, we don't know the specific rules and regs, and I think that it would be so much better. And this is the larger point. This is the larger point. That those of us that follow the league would be a lot better off if we could play, media manager or whatever. Come the time that you get to trade deadline day, you could sit there and you put folks into the trade calculator and you can go, okay, well, this will work, or this will work, or this will work. We do that with the NBA all the time. Can't do that with Major League Soccer because the rules and regs aren't posted or announced. We know last year's salary base, almost $5.25 million. And that's because you hit DPs with the budget charge. Designated players hit the budget at $651,000. They did last year anyway. We don't know what the adjustment is this year. 200,000, I think, was the number for a young DP, the U22s. And because of the agreements that you have with the MLSPA, number goes up, fixed number. PA knows what the number is. League knows what the number is. We don't. That, I think, is once again one of the larger points in this discussion, is that it would be a much more informed fan and follower of the league if we could have this kind of information. So, what you can do with GAM, you buy players down, you sit there and, okay, with GAM, you buy them down, you're here, all this kind of stuff. Great, cool. Fantastic, great. But you still have a lot of folks that you've got to make decisions on. And right now, you're adding Federico Redondo, as it looks, $8 million plus 15% of the pass, to bring him in to help you at the back, and boy, do you need it. So, Redondo coming in, U22 presumably, that fits. But we still don't know. We still don't have all of the information that we need that is tied to all of this. So to continue Durbin's quote and the conversation that he had with Tom Bogert, we mentioned that they will, Durbin says that they will be so at the start of the season. In terms of what happens if they're not compliant, it's a dynamic that doesn't really play out that way because we are in constant communication with the teams right up until the date. And so usually the way it plays out is if we're seeing teams, let's say that it's a week or 2 weeks out, it may look like they may have a bit of work to do to become roster compliant. We will obviously be engaging with them and then having conversations to sort of say, okay, well, what is the plan to get compliance? Because it's a very dynamic and fluid process the teams obviously have a lot of irons in the fire. So our friends at the league office, they're confident. I mean, you can't sit there and say, if you're in the league office, you can't sit there and go, well, we're preparing for the worst. We're preparing for the worst. It's not happening. So, that's the that is the big issue with where we are with Inter Miami. So Gregory's the first domino to fall. What the other dominoes are, we don't know yet. Are there other dominoes? You're probably going to use the one-time exception. You're probably going to let somebody go. But remember, we went through the South American windows. They still exist. There's a lot of that you can do. You can continue to move folks to South America. I think Jean Mota was the other player that we were looking at that could be attached to an idea. So we'll keep an eye on all of that, and we will let you know what's going on with our friends at Messi and Friends, and it'll be a continually interesting saga because hey, they got a week to figure it all out. Do they figure it out? That's the question. I'm sure they do. So you you end up with what we're staring at right now. And that's where we are. All right. So let's get into the morning hellos as we always do. Morning Harry, morning Ropes. Morning Harry in his multiple alter egos. Morning Alex, morning Dell. Morning Ricky. Bam. Oh, good morning, Bam. Glad you're here. The Melbourne Derby on while there will be 96,000 people at the MCG. I feel like I always have to do this when we're talking about the MCG. I feel like I have to be the goal umpire in the AFL, something like that. Going to be packed. Yes, going to be packed. Melbourne Derby and some person named Taylor Swift. And Ricky, yes. To your point, going into the last weekend without regular season matches. So, hour number 2. We head into the weekend. What are you looking? I know that we can't see what's going on. We can't see what's going on in Fort Lauderdale. We can't. We're not going to be able to watch the action. But once again, kudos to Atlanta United and to Mike and Jason for being there as much as they were allowed to be there. What are you looking for? Obviously, since we can't watch it, you can't sit there and stare at Atlanta United and go, okay, yeah, I want to see this, and this. As we lead into what is going on, they've got this match up against Sporting Kansas City, and we don't know who's going to play. We don't know who's going to be doing what, and we don't know. Like I said, we're not going to be able to watch it. But what are you looking for? What questions do you want to have discussed? What do you want discussed by the time that we're done? Match is over. What questions do you still have in your head going in and hopefully addressed coming out? We'll be able to get our information on the backside. But what are your Atlanta United questions still coming in? What are the answers that you're looking for? And is Atlanta United going to be chasing after yet another player to get ready for the weekend, to get ready for the regular season? Remember, we talk about roster compliance. We've got to be careful now. Roster compliance, it's a part of this. But questions going into this matchup against Sporting Kansas City that we're not going to be able to see. Answers that you hopefully will have after the match with Sporting Kansas City that we're not going to be able to see, but we will have intel and information. So I want to know your lingering questions for Atlanta United. That's in hour number 2. Lingering questions for Atlanta United. And your level of confidence, and this can be a continuation into next week, your level of confidence with the squad that's currently there heading into the regular season and the match in Columbus this next weekend. So where are you where Atlanta United is right now? What are you thinking about the roster, about all these different things? All your Atlanta United stuff we'll get into in hour number 2. But once again, level of confidence, questions, answers, all those kinds of things. What are you looking for this weekend for this match that we're not going to be able to see, but we will have intel back once the match is over? That's a part of this. Yeah, Will, I am already here. I am in Huntsville in a hotel room that I couldn't quite direct the lighting the best way possible. Yeah, I'm here. I Space Camp. Dale says I'm broadcasting from Space Camp. I don't know if I would ever, if I was growing up, if I would have ever had the courage to do something like that. I wasn't. I was more of a sports kid. So it would have had to have been like one of those all-star camps or something where you get all of the younger stars that they could bring into a camp, and you could learn from them. I don't know if I would ever be okay with weightlessness as a kid, because then I feel like I would float away and no one would be able to get me. That kind of stuff. So I don't know if I could ever do space camp. I could do baseball camp. I did soccer camp. And they had me in as inverted winger. I was left-footed shot, inverted winger on the right-hand side, and drove my coaches crazy. I know that shocked you. But, yeah, I am here in Huntsville. And, okay, so Will says, tomorrow morning I've got to go to the Poppy and the Parliament, English-themed bar that broadcasts Premier League Saturday mornings. Hotel right by Space Camp. Dell was back there in 1990. Pars on Messi and Friends. Anyone just assuming that wherever Miami is in their cost, that will be the new standard? Don't know. And that's the larger element in this, is that, I don't think that they'll sit there and go, Miami almost made it, so now everybody gets to go to the almost made it number. But once again, and Pars, and this is the point. This is the point that we've been making, and it's a point that I'm fairly certain that we all agree on. If the league were more, I'm not going to say transparent, but more forthcoming with information, I think we'd be a lot better off. Because I'd like to know, if I'm a team, going in is one thing. All right, so going in, hey, everybody's roster compliant. Okay, so then what did they do? Did they make it under the cap by $7.24? Or are they like way clear? That's the larger question. I think we would all be a better informed fan if we knew what the roster rules were. Give me my numbers. I want my numbers so I can do my math. It's 9:30 on a Friday morning. So we catch up with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring, and we get to catch up with one of two individuals. And one of the two individuals, we always refer to him as a mogul in training, because he is. He's learning about business, and he's learning about building a team. And I always like to ask these questions too, about what it's like for a mentor to possibly have other mentors in this part of the world. So it's time for the Friday Free Kick. And you know who's coming up around the corner. It's our guy, Parky. What's up, Cap?
More John.
Well,
what
let's
fine
see.
establishment are you in today?
I am in a fine establishment that I think was built in the 1980s. Because It is. I'm and here's how I kind of surmised this. You know how like the 70s and the 80s hotels, they would try to make them almost look like New Mexico exploded, and it's like Art Deco and weird shapes, and it's not a uniformed building, and it's like a 3-story thing that almost looks like it could sub as an office park,
Yeah.
and
It's called
you got
style,
all the
John.
yes, something I don't have. And so all the different sizes of the chimneys and roofs and everything, that's where we are. We're in Huntsville, Alabama, getting ready for the blast-off battle here with Huntsville City Football Club and UAH and Tormenta and Chattanooga FC, and it's a kickoff tournament. We're broadcasting them this weekend. And so as I chase after, hotels in one particular brand, because I always want to stick with one brand. You don't want to get like the frequent brand points from like 9 different hotels, because it doesn't do you any good. It's like you fly one airline, you stick with one hotel. That's traditionally how it is.
That's right.
And I'm here at this hotel that looks like it came right out of the 1980s. So that's where I am today. I'm in Huntsville, Alabama. I'm not at Space Camp. I'm not floating weightless, but I am in a 1980s hotel.
I was down in Huntsville last week. Visiting
Oh, you were, sir. Why were you in Huntsville last?
Well, that's the HQ for the tech company that I help out, Rippleworks. They're down in Huntsville, Alabama. So I was down there for a couple meetings.
Wow. So what do I get any intel about? Do I get any intel about your visits? Where do I go? What do I need to do? Who do I need to see? What's going on? I need the Michael Parkhurst faux doors for Huntsville here.
You know what? I stayed with a friend. I didn't really go out and see much. Their offices are downtown, so we were just down there and hit a couple of restaurants and a coffee shop, and that's about it.
Okay. All right. So
I can't
I'm not
really
a coffee.
tell you.
Nothing. That's all cool. I mean, so I will defer to you and your judgment in the future when it comes to cities like this. I need to ask you ahead of time. Hey, where'd you go to get stuff? Okay. It's a Friday, but it's the last Friday of preseason. When you were a player, were you just to the point where it's like, come on, man, let's get this over with? Can we go ahead and start games for real? Or were you in situations where you're like, yeah, I think we do need the work? What did you think of preseason in general?
Yeah, that's a good question. I felt like, yes, we needed the fitness for sure. And I think it depends on the team. Atlanta United, those first couple of years, we needed the games, right? We needed the extra reps and just getting used to each other and figuring things out and style of play and all that. But, for teams that are more or less sticking together, they've got the same coaching staff, right? A lot of the same roster, then I think it's a little bit less important. I mean, you're just trying to make sure that you feel fit and sharp, and most importantly, stay healthy. So,
was there ever, I guess, go for it. Oh, I thought you were. Do you need to hydrate, sir? Do you need to hydrate quickly?
This is 2 times in a row, John.
Nothing wrong with hydration, sir. We need you. We need you at your peak. We need
butter
you
in the coffee.
Oh yeah. Did you hear about this? Did you hear about this stuff?
I saw Dax's post and I commented on it, and then I said straight to jail.
I first off, I am not a coffee person. And the notion, and we went through the dynamics of it, because apparently it it pulls certain elements out of the coffee, adds like a caffeinated element, and it helps you with your caloric intake and burning calories and all these kinds of things. It makes it like coffee that is like on fire with caffeine, and just rips your body to shreds and turns you into the Incredible Hulk or something. But I mean, first off, we need you to talk to Dax, because we need to know who this individual is that needs to go straight to jail. I'm glad you brought this up, because we need to find out who this individual is. Not to publicly shun them and put them in in the stuff in the 1700s where you're in the public square and people throw apples at you. But we need to know the rationale here. It's like, dude, why are you doing this? Do you actually like the taste of this kind of stuff?
Yeah, that I'm curious about that. Is it a taste thing or is it like a health benefit thing?
It's like a health benefit working out kind of a deal. Like it burns calories and it like makes you more in tune, and it's like it super caffeinates you and it pulls out calories and it gives you even more energy. I think that's what it all is.
Well, I can understand that a lot more than a taste thing. So, I know that guys do some crazy things for health benefits, and hey, to each their own, right? If they believe in it, then it's helping them one way or another. So, I can understand that a little bit, I guess.
All right, so you've piqued my interest. Who did the stuff that's off the page when it came to health benefits and goofy and weird stuff where they would end up going straight to jail? But to each their own. Who are some of the? You can give names if you want, but what did folks do? Let me phrase it this way so you don't get in any trouble. What did folks do that was off the rails for their fitnessy stuff that you would sit there and go, "There's no way in where that I would ever do something like that"? Who did weird stuff?
It's not necessarily that is weird. I'll give you that. But I don't remember too many weird things so much as like just over the top, like like I won't eat a hamburger, or hamburgers are bad for me type thing. Or I played with a goalie in Columbus. He was really, really strict about his diet and was like very, very little carbs, like very, very little sugar, basically nothing enjoyable and fun. And I was like, hey,
sounds very un-American.
Yeah, I was like, hey, good for you. I guess I don't really care to be that healthy. But you got a balance between enjoying life as well. But that's the beauty of preseason, right? Where you get to know guys a little bit more, like kind of what guys are into, what makes them tick, like little things like this. Like you don't get that without preseason, without being around each other for 2 weeks straight. I remember the first time I saw guys put sugar on watermelon and sugar on pineapple, and it's like, man, you just learn different things that guys done, and you're like, wow, this is crazy.
I would never do any of that stuff. That's just, sugar on things that already have those kinds of. Okay, I'm stunned. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this
Central American Caribbean
process. Yeah. So when it comes to your mentees, and I know that this is kind of a part of that as well. It's like, yeah, do they? Are you privy to their other habits outside of the sport that you can walk them through and try to understand as a part of their greater dynamics? Or you mentioned to each their own. How different are your mentees when it comes to their approaches about learning and their approaches about all of the different pieces that make them who they are? I mean, do you get into that depth of an idea when it comes to learning about your mentees?
Yeah, we try to, for sure, because that's one of the things we try to connect. Hey, that we as professional athletes is a 24/7 athlete thing. Meaning, hey, whatever you do throughout the day is going to affect your job and how you play, including what you put in your body. Now, kids don't need to be 24/7 athletes because they're not getting paid to do it, but they do need to understand how all these things fit within the puzzle. And so we do talk to them about nutrition, but we also say, hey, you need to have about like a 70-30, right? Like, hey, eat healthy 70% of the time, and 30% of the time go enjoy yourself and eat whatever you want, have Chick-fil-A, and pizza and all these other things, right? Like, hey, you need to live, because if you just try and go cold turkey or try and go 90-10, it's like then you binge or you feel bad about doing those 10% or more, right? And you don't want to have an unhealthy lifestyle like that where it's unsustainable. So we always talk about like, hey, understand what's healthy and what's not, first of all, right? What's going to help you and what's not going to help you. And then at least you're making informed decisions about like, hey, how am I feeling? How's my body feel? Like being in tune to how does your body feel after you eat such a meal? Or how do you feel on game day when you eat this for pregame? And those types of things, like finding out, hey, what works for your body.
So when it comes to your mentees, I mean, have you come across some folks that you've had to sit there and say, it's like, okay, you're at 90-10. It's cool to, I mean, for you and Greg to say these kinds of things is one thing. For you to learn them coming back the other, I would imagine it's another. Have you been privy to situations with mentees that are that 90-10 and they're so gung-ho about wanting to succeed that they're still not enjoying themselves when they should be as a young person?
As far as training, yes. As far as diet, no. But training, yes, where it's like, they're going 6.5 to 7 days a week and, concerned about this or that. And, it's like, hey, you need to reevaluate here a little bit and, don't be too concerned about, taking a day off or what that's going to do. And because we talk about, wear and tear, physically, the grind mentally, and how important it is to have these time periods off, whether it's a day in a week or a week in a year, right? These time periods. And one of the things we talk to them about, and a telltale sign that, hey, you're hitting that peak is, do you really look forward to training every day? Right? Are you super excited to go? Like, do you have a smile on your face? Is it the best part of your day? Like, can't wait to get there. And if it's not, then you need to cut back a little bit. And I know that you still need to go to team training, but like, hey, cut back on some of these other things and enjoy your days off and time away, so that, right, maybe that it does spark that love again, where, okay, if I don't play soccer for a couple days, now all of a sudden, yeah, I am looking forward to going back. All right. So that's always one of the telltale signs.
How many, I mean, I know that this is a generational thing, and you triggered something, in my head about this. I know that when I was growing up back in the late 1700s, I was a teenager back in like 1798. We always took time away from our organized sports to hang out with the kids in the neighborhood. It would always be one of those things where we're outside until the stereotypic moment happens where your parents on the front porch and they yell for your name. It's like, sun's coming down, you're playing under street lights, then it's time to go home. And you still did that and the organized sports. Today, I would imagine for the young athletes that you're having the opportunity to be a mentor for, I don't know if they have those kinds of separations in their existence. I don't know how much enjoyment they're actually having outside of that line that they think that they have to go down to be a success. And I've got to do this. How much separation? I mean, is there any separation these days, or is it the be all end all, that one direction? Are they enjoying themselves these days at times? I mean, it seems like that. It seems like it's rough for them to enjoy themselves because of how they're driven.
Yeah, and I think that they're just, well, one, I think that the specialization definitely starts earlier than it did for us, and it's being pushed. And we've talked about it in the past where there's either the rec side or there's the competitive side, and there's not much in between. And if you are in the competitive side, it's almost year round, in a lot of instances. So I get that. But I also think a lot of players, especially the ones that we mentor, enjoy it. We do come across a few that are more driven by mom and dad than they are internally. So, that poses some challenges. But most of them are kind of embracing it and they enjoy it. That doesn't mean that we still don't encourage them to hit the brakes every now and then, because, hey, it's a longevity thing, right? Even if they love it, I think that there's studies coming out about, injuries and things where it's just like, hey, you're playing the same sport year round and it's just a lot on the body. So there's a whole host of factors of why time off is important and playing other things and doing other things, besides just being a kid and enjoying it. So yeah, it's tough. It's a tough environment though, because I get it that it's super competitive, and to have success at a young age, like there's so many younger athletes getting this individual training and extra work, and if you're not getting that, are you falling behind? But I definitely believe that it's down to the internal drive. Talent plays a role in it for sure. You have to have some athletic talent in order to be successful. But then the rest is just enjoying yourself and the internal drive to get better.
Michael Parkhurst on the Friday Free Kick hanging out with us here on SDH, and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring, at MF Parkhurst, at BG Mentoring on the 280 character app. You mentioned pressure, and I would imagine, but I don't know the balance. I don't know the percentages, especially these days. I don't know how much pressure is internal when it comes to our younger people and the those that you would be a mentor for, and how much of it is external, whether it's peer pressure, whether it's parents, whether it's all of these different external factors that they're having to deal with. When it comes to the younger people of today, and the ones that you get to either see and or interact with as mentor to mentee, how are they handling? Are they as a group handling it well? Are they handling it better than we might have when it came to all of the external pressures growing up? How are your mentees handling this pressure? Are they handling it well these days as a group? And I know that's kind of a nebulous question, and it's got kind of wide ranging, and you can take it wherever you want. But I mean, I think of it as like, we dealt with pressure. I dealt with pressure in a certain way. You dealt with pressure in a certain way growing up. When you compare how you dealt with pressure growing up, whether internal or external or both, and you see how it's coming out and manifesting itself in your mentees these days, is it any different? Are they handling it better than we did? Are we learning from younger people about how to handle pressure these days? I guess, is it a two-way street? Are we learning as much from them as they're learning from us at the same time?
For sure. I think that kids are resilient and they're strong, and they always have been, right? We're probably stronger when we were kids than we are now as adults in some facets. And I think we've talked before, right? The pressures that they face are so much more than what we did. Not only on the field with, in academy life where it's like, basically a tryout every season, but also just off the field, and pressures and social media and image stuff and just stuff at school. And there's a lot that they have to go through and deal with. And so I think that for the most part, they do a pretty good job. We as parents can probably help out there, with school and sport, and helping them a little bit, and not putting the pressure, or trying to put the pressure on them, right, to obviously do well in school and their sport. But I really don't put any pressure on my kids to do well in sport. It's totally up to them. And I've seen right now where neither of them have really taken it by the horns and been like, yeah, I really want to be good at this, which hurts a little bit. Obviously, you you want that just because how much I enjoyed it and how good the game was to me, where it's like I can see they've got the natural athletic ability if they wanted to apply themselves, but they don't right now. But I have seen a small change in my daughter all of a sudden, who's 13, and now I don't know, something has clicked in the last few weeks where she actually wants to work out and she wants to hit the ball in the backyard, and she talks about what she eats, and not in an unhealthy way, but having protein bars as a snack, and little things where I've noticed where that internal motivation is starting to kick in, and I love to see it. But so getting back to the pressure thing, yeah, that's definitely one of the things that we talk to our mentees a lot about, obviously, because a lot of the kids that come to us are dealing with issues of pressure, and how to handle it. And I see it a lot at the academy level, and I can understand why, especially for the newer kids within an academy who aren't having success right away, who are struggling to adapt. It's tough, but at least they're getting help, and I think that parents are a little bit more educated on maybe how to help and how to deal with it a little bit. So that's great.
All right. So Michael Valverde with a question for us. And it is, do you think it helps or hurts for kids moving up to play games where they get thrashed, or is it better to get them on a team that can be competitive?
I think in the beginning, if kids aren't having fun, they will not like the sport and they don't want to continue. Does that mean they have to be winning every game? No. But that was a concern I had for my son 2 years ago when he joined a new team and his team was not good and they got thrashed, and he came back crying multiple times. I mean, they weren't even finishing the game. They're getting run ruled. Each kid was getting one at bat. It was rough. And I was fearful that he was going to lose his love of baseball because, he just wasn't enjoying going to a game anymore. Right. So there's a balance for sure. Right. Can we get a lot better by getting thrashed every now and then? Absolutely. It can teach us a lot. But if it's a constant thing, I don't think it's a benefit. I don't. It takes a really strong child to be able to deal with that. There's a lot of Atlanta United kids who play up a year who then struggle with the pace of the play and the physicality, right? These kids are growing at all different rates and things, and they struggle individually a little bit to adapt, and that I think is okay because they're still part of a team environment that's having success, and they're just getting pushed. And I tell them, hey, these types of environments will make you much stronger in the future. And same thing with getting thrashed here and there. So that's what my answer would be. Getting thrashed week in and week out is usually going to do more harm than good, in my opinion.
Then Dell comes in, and Dell is with us from Charleston. He's our resident Charleston Battery fan and gives us the 411 on them. He says he feels like Americans practice soccer too much and don't get to play as much pickup as other countries. And to that point, I remember seeing Gino Auriemma. He was giving one of his sit downs, and he was comparing, and he wasn't a fan of how things are with the AAU game versus how things are with Europe. And the European players in basketball, they would come over to the United States, and everybody in the United States would be just in awe of them and their game. And, you've got guys who are 6'9", 6'10", who can handle it like a point guard. And he said that the point was the European players, they practice most of the week and only play on the weekends. Whereas the AAU folks in the States, they're playing all the time. They may have great natural ability, but they're not spending any time practicing. And so that's why Gino was worried about the state of play in the United States versus how things are developing over in Europe. So along those lines, do Americans practice too much, I guess, on the flip side, and not play as much pickup as other countries, do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Sport to sport, the differences and what's viewed as positive and negative. And I understand that, hey, there's and it's not just an American thing. I think that the approach to tactics right? Where it's like, how much is too much? And this is, coach to coach, it differs, right? Where it's like, hey, how robotic do you have your team play versus, okay, hey, you need to have the freedom and the mindset to figure it out and play freely and do your thing out there, versus like, hey, when the ball goes here, you go there, and this and that, right? And that's the downside to like Pep or Berhalter sometimes, where it's like, hey, it's a little robotic and you don't have enough freedom, versus a coach that, hey, go out there and have all freedom, right? It's somewhere in the middle. I lean towards more tactics, but I don't know, it's just preference. But yeah, I don't know. The practice thing is challenging, and I think it comes down to like, well, how the practice is structured and what's going on, because unfortunately, and this is just from what I see in my experience, if kids aren't going to practice, they're not playing pickup with friends, they're on screens. And so going to a practice is better than the screens. But yeah, within practice, I think coaches could do more of like, hey, let's play 6-on-6 tournament here. Let's play, small sided games tournaments. And like, we don't have to work on anything today. Let's just go out there, have fun, compete, and play against each other and do more of that. I had a young coach when I was like between the age of like 8 and 12, or maybe 7 and 12. And especially indoor, every time we showed up, you just got a bib. This was your team. And it was like, score, you stay on, lose, you're out. And that was the practice. You literally just showed up and you played the whole time. And it was amazing. And we loved it.
All right. Before you go, updates on Beyond Goals. I know that we're in the high school season. We're doing games, 3 games, 3 days a week. We're doing high school games. And Rhode Island FC, I see what's over that right shoulder. I see what's going on over there. So what's the latest with the Beyond Goals and with our IFC?
Yeah, we've spoken to a few more schools, which has been awesome. Those experiences are always really great. Kids are engaging, which is awesome. We are having our first virtual video analysis session. So we're excited about that. It's open for anybody. Where we're going to focus on defenders. So Greg and I are just going to have a Zoom, and we're going to have some clips of professional games. We're going to go over some things about defenders. So that'll be fun. We're looking forward to that. And then Rhode Island is coming back from IMG today, I think. And yeah, we are 1 month from today, kicking off. 50 days till Charleston. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we got more important games to worry about. But yeah, we're 1 month from today is kickoff. So against New Mexico. So we're excited.
You should be. It's going to be fun. And we will add the Rhode Island FC questions to everything else that's going on. Thanks as always, my friend. When you get to come in and pop in, it's always great to see you, and B, kind of just pick your brain a little bit about everything that's going on, especially with mentoring and having the younger generations learn and going forward. Cap, it's always great to catch up with you, my friend. We'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks.
Enjoy your time in Huntsville.
Yes, sir, we will. That's Michael Parkhurst, everybody. And it's always fun to catch up with Cap, and great to catch up with Greg when they're able to, because they are really rolling around. They're traveling the planet, and they are doing things virtually, and it's great to kind of pick their brains about how things are with mentees and the younger athletes and all these kinds of things. And so for me to be able to try to get a better understanding of the student athlete today and how their brains work, it's always fun to catch up with Greg and Michael about these kinds of things. That's the Friday Free Kick, brought to us by our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring, at BG Mentoring on the 280 character app. While we were talking, yes, Kevin is the new host. So Kevin officially announced this, I guess, on his 280 character app account. News came out yesterday from MLS Communications that Kevin is now the new host of MLS 360, and that's going to be it's going to be fun to have Kevin completely and totally just in charge of all of that. We're catching up with Kevin a week from today. As a matter of fact, I think in this very time slot is where we are going to be catching up with Kevin, and we'll get his thoughts on the season and 360 and all these kinds of things. Our friends at World Soccer Talk, they went through the numbers of season pass and getting ready for the 24 season. And here's what they have found out. Reduce the number of commentators and analysts calling games on MLS season pass in 2024. We talked about yesterday where by looking at the grid of the announcers, that it looked like the French-speaking broadcasts outside the province of Quebec for Toronto and Vancouver, those no longer exist here in 2024. So French-speaking for Quebec province and no other places in Canada. We know that Adrian Healy had not been renewed as one of the announcers. 18 people have been cut, according to World Soccer Talk, from the MLS talent department on Apple TV. Those who are coming back, sources revealed to WST, some are taking pay cuts of up to a third. Less talent returning. Every game will have the same number of talent calling matches, meaning it's going to be a commentator and it is going to be a color individual. Christina Uncle is not coming back. Ramses Sandoval is not coming back. Jen Hildreth and Danielle Slayton have not been renewed as a part of the roster for 24. Andres Cordero, Drake Cordero, Adrian Healy, Nigel Rio Coker. So those are some of the names that are attached. So you end up with part of the discussion about Christina Uncle. So the other talent not rehired: Juan Arango, Patrice Bernier, Olivier Brett, Ed Cohen, Matthew Cullen, Gavino DeFalco, Jeremy Filosa, Stefano Fusaro, Sonny Guadarrama, Jose Hernandez, Sebastian Latu, and Jamie Watson. And those 18 out, you're bringing in 8 new: Gio Savarese, Jalil Anibaba. So when we catch up with Lucas Panzica next week, we'll find out who his new partner is going to be on radio. Jesus Bracamontes, Daniel Chapela, Neil Sika is in, Joe Tollison is in, John Laguna is in, and Jesus Acosta is in. Savarese is going to be in the new Spanish language version of 360 alongside Tony Cerci and Miguel Gallardo. MLS is making an effort, according to Soccer Talk, to match what they did on the English side, creating a Spanish language version of 360 that is going to be with our friend Kevin Egan. Also surpassed 2 million subscribers per report at the Sports Business Journal. Those include MLS Season Pass given away for free to season ticket holders, as well as those getting the service through T-Mobile. Number of paid subscribers not publicly reported. Importantly, MLS still hasn't hit that threshold to generate more rights revenue above the 250 million that Apple pays Major League Soccer each year. That $250 million a year deal, sizable increase compared to the 95 that they had before Apple TV, and the season begins on the 21st on MLS Season Pass. So that's what you're looking at from the on-air perspective. Morning Forecard with the changes and the tweaks from MLS 360. So that's the news where that is concerned. Okay. Going back in the notes here, because Jurgen Klinsmann is going to be talked about next. I just wanted to let you know. Yeah, I wanted to let you know that we're going to talk about Clinzy next. So consider yourself warned and get your opinions in as we go. Getting into the league discussion once again with our buddy Messi and friends. BAM apparently has found a roster rule. 13-2-3.3-4-126 subsection B. Messi gets to do what he wants to bring in players. Probably not far from the truth. I say that tongue in cheek. Miami to the league. Oh, I didn't know the rules applied to us. We're enhancing the brand of the league. So not a surprise. But once again, Messinomics passeth human understanding. Yes, absolutely true. Michael Valverde on the Messi fire sale, and it is both an I and a Y when it comes to the elements that are there. Do we see any assets we would like to get at a discount? Maybe, and I say maybe, somebody like Robert Taylor. maybe Robert Taylor. That would be my guess. Help you out on the wings, maybe. That is just. Dell didn't watch the match last night. MLS season pass expired. Need to re-up. It was like I said, it was Newell's, and it was for Tata and his old club and Messi and his hometown club. It was a chance for them to have 90 minutes there in Fort Lauderdale. So I mean, I love the idea, and so we'll see. But it was 90 minutes. It was their last element of the preseason. But more than anything, it's still trying to figure out how you can become roster compliant. MLS Next Pro has another month until home matches. Absolutely true. We talked about Atlanta United and what you're looking for going into this weekend against Sporting Kansas City, a match that we know will happen. Won't be televised. We know it'll happen. But this is the correct answer. The Mike Conti answer. Hutch. No injuries. Dell is looking for a goalkeeper decision. Might happen after the match, because then you take all your information and you sit there and you make the announcement. Okay, so-and-so is our starting keeper. And Dell is also looking at captain as well. Okay, and then we have news from supporter section. The tailgate lot's changing again. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that. Because the Hoff and I have to figure out where we're going. To catch up with y'all. Emilio, team is set up much better than this time since 2019. Still have to see if we can reduce goals against this year. And that's why you brought in Gregerson. That's why you've got Derek Williams. Goal for goals against should be a minimum of 45. Tom, top 3 concerns: keeper, youth and depth, and Pineda. So, I mean, the depth, I think we're in good shape. The youth, learning as we go. And, Noah Cobb, Efren Morales, Jay Fortune. I think that Luke Brennan, Tyler Wolf, and if you want to include Nicholas Firmino in that, I think you're there. 2, I think we're good. And then obviously 3, I know that's probably higher than a lot of other folks. All right, so Will says the Huntsvillians having their first public event at Back 40 tomorrow at 4:00 Central Time. We tomorrow are going to be having our live at Yellowhammer Brewing. So spread the word, Will, and we will too. We'll be at Yellowhammer, I think, from 6 to 8. We will have guests. So we'll be at Yellowhammer Brewing from 6 to 8 tomorrow. The off day in the blast-off battle. Saturday here in Huntsville is a big soccer showcase on the high school side. Might take in some of those matches. But right now it is doubleheader today, Yellowhammer Brewing from 6 to 8 tomorrow. And then at the same time, we'll have the doubleheader, the brunch, and the afternoon match on Sunday before we all head home and make it back in time to do the show on Monday. So that's our layout. Doubleheader today, Yellowhammer Brewing tomorrow night from 6 to 8, and then the doubleheader on Sunday. So that is our itinerary. Pars, when we're talking about salary and numbers. And I know that we still have the Jurgen Klinsmann discussion to talk about. Do they calculate cap off of base salaries or the top end of the range? I believe that the cap is off of base and not full compensation. So it's off of each base salary that's attached. Yeah, Ropes, it's close to being. It is the boss is a tell, and it is not La Quinta, but it's close. All right, am I hanging my shirts in the sprinkler? No, I believe I actually have, but that would mean that I would actually have to have clothes to hang up. This is a functional weekend. This is an absolutely functional weekend. So that is I've got a closet, but I don't think I have anything that I'm actually hanging. And yes. So to the point, Alex reminding us all. Reminder not to hang my shirts from the sprinkler head. Oh, wait a second. Do I? Yeah, okay. So as I take a peek, I do have a sprinkler head. It is directly above the bed, and it actually has the sign. Like literally, okay. So here's how it is. You've got the sprinkler head. You've got the sprinkler for the room. And then directly underneath the sprinkler is the sign, the sticker sign that has the coat hanger and the red circle and the line. So even they tell you underneath the sprinkler head, don't hang your clothes on this. Well, but it says no coat hangers. But I mean, maybe you could put a coat hanger on there and not have any clothes. So we'll see. But yeah, so they have the sticker and the sign to remind us all. And the thing is that in this particular room, literally the sprinkler head, you would have to stand on the bed, and I'm trying to visualize this to see if it's even possible. You'd have to stand on the bed, and you would still be about 2 feet short of being able to reach the sprinkler head. So if you really had a desire to make sure that you could put something on a sprinkler head, attach a coat hanger to a sprinkler head with clothing on it, you'd really have to do a lot of work. You literally would have to stand on the bed. The bed would sink because of the mattress. Then you'd have to probably have about another 2 feet of stuff on top of the mattress to reach the sprinkler head. That's what we're looking at here. So if you wanted to hang something from a coat hanger on the sprinkler head, you would really have to, really have to make sure that that you really wanted to do it. It would be an absolute desire that you would want to do something like that. Getting into the food discussion. Okay, so it allows the caffeine allegedly to be time released still. Not happening. Emilio thinks it's Westberg, by the way. And in the Miami situation, Tessio, can you get me off the hook, Tom, for old time's sake? Can't do it, Sally. So Emilio thinks it's Westberg. and Tom approves of the colonial era punishments. Pepper on cantaloupe. Hutch, you got me on that one. That's one I don't know. And then, I mean, I get the ham and pineapple and pizza, but that's about the extent of it. Tom, this is absolutely true. Parking needs to understand I am the last person to be offering any advice or suggestions. That is absolutely true. That's absolutely true. Okay, so into the Parky discussion. Dell said the last 20 minutes, basically just let them have fun. Michael agreed pickup is a huge way to grow as a player. Son made the biggest leaps playing pickup at school with bigger kids. And, not necessarily surprised. Morning, Nix. So since Nix is here, we'll go ahead and talk about it. Nix is suggesting he loves the South Korean statement about Jurgen Klinsmann, no punches pulled. But what I would also recommend is that you look up Steve Hahn. Look at Steve Hahn and what Steve was able to do. And Steve followed the situation from day one. Steve Hahn on his timeline broke down the meeting. And it really was an interesting play-by-play of what was going on and how things are with the Federation. So for those of you that might have missed it, about 11:30 last night, Jurgen Klinsmann was sacked, as our friends at The Athletic overseas refer to it. He got fired. But he ended up with a $5 million parachute from the Korean Football Association. So from our friends at The Athletic, here's how they broke it down. We'll get into what Steve said as a part of this as well. And Steve got into the politics of it all and really how the head of the Federation insulated himself from any kind of finger pointing or blame or what have you by putting folks in between himself and the decision to hire Jurgen Klinsmann. What Steve Hahn was saying on Twitter was that the head of the Fed had these individuals in place to protect himself when it came to any blowback, to where everyone would sit there and say, oh, it was this guy that hired Jurgen Klinsmann, when in fact it was the head of the Federation, but the head of the Federation put individuals in between himself and Klinsmann in the flow chart, the organizational flow chart, to make it look like it was that guy, the other individual, Marcus Mueller, that was the one who hired him. So here's what happened. Sacking confirmed at a press conference held with the Korea Football Association president Chun Mong-gyu. KFA decided to change the national head coach following a comprehensive review. Klinsmann has failed to display managerial capability and leadership expected of a national head coach in areas ranging from tactics, personnel management, to work attitude, and others required to bring about competitiveness to the team. Klinsmann's attitude and competitiveness as head coach has fallen short of people's expectations, and it was agreed that this would not be improved going forward, so he decided to change leadership ahead of the 2026 World Cup qualifying games, end quote. Beaten by Jordan, 87th in the world. South Korea is 23rd. Appointed manager in February of last year, so about a year ago, succeeding Paulo Bento, who departed after the World Cup. Klinsmann had a response on Twitter thanking everybody. South Korea, considered one of the pre-tournament favorites, progressed to the knockouts after only winning one of their three group matches. Squad was far from harmonious because, remember, we got into the thing with Sonny, with Heung-min Son, suffering a dislocated finger following an altercation between a number of players. Side note, traditionally, the way that the Korean Football Association has operated, and once again, this goes back to our buddy Steve Hahn. In all of Steve's years of reporting, the players to an individual said, what happens in the locker room stays in the locker room. Traditionally, you would never hear about the Battle of Ping Pong, but you did this time. Wonder why? That's how fed up the Fed was. That's how fed up the Federation was with Jurgen Klinsmann. That something like this, that was so disharmonious, to create a word, was made public. It is so atypical for the Korean Football Association to have something like this made public. The Battle of Ping Pong. That's how fed up they were. That something like that would be made public when it comes to what's going on with the team. Where you talk about disharmony between the younger players and the veterans at a ping pong table. That's how bad this apparently got. That they were that mad, the Federation, that they would say something like that publicly instead of keeping it behind closed doors. The former Germany striker's tactics were said to lack coherence, with an over-reliance on Son, PSG midfielder Lee Kang-in, and Wolves forward Wang Hee-chan. Klinsmann's decision not to move to South Korea and remain in the United States was not well received. There was talk in some circles that initially, when Klinsmann won the press conference, yeah, I'll come over. Yeah, well, yeah, I'll be here. Apparently, he wasn't enough to the Federation's liking. So that is Jurgen Klinsmann, leaving with a $5 million balloon payment, a golden parachute. And as we have said previously, we firmly anticipate, as a rule, that someone will look at Jurgen Klinsmann. Jurgen Klinsmann will win the PowerPoint presentation, and someone else will hire him. Just make sure that if you do that, you know what's coming. And then Steve Hahn, once again, at Real Steve Scores, must follow for the action in the Far East. After Klinsmann posted his goodbye on the 280-character app, here's what Steve Hahn said. Mr. Klinsmann, you wouldn't be disabling replies to your tweet if you genuinely believe that there's any value to your journey with Korea. We certainly will keep on fighting, but please never come back to our country ever again. Hope the door hits you hard AF on your way out. So Steve Hahn wins the day. I'll say that right now. So between the KFA, who let him have it, the KFA, who made things public that they uncharacteristically do not, and those who cover the KFA and have been a part of the discussion ever since day one, Steve Hahn let him have it. He should have. Going forward, like I said, I know that somebody with money to burn, we always talk about money being set on fire, that somebody will look at Jurgen Klinsmann and go, ooh, I'm hoping that there are more of us that would sit there and go, nope, we're done. Absolutely done. He wins the press conference, and that's about it. Jarrett, your timing's impeccable.
Who are we mad at? Jurgen?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Damn, yes. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Steve Hahn fired him into the sun.
Good.
And literally, Steve Hahn on Twitter was like, don't let the door hit you. Let the door hit you AF on the way out. And basically, he was the Korean Football Association let him have it, as they should have. And it's about damn time. Literally, it's about damn time.
Yes. Well, I mean, like the dude just left. It seemed like this was the foregone conclusion because he just left.
Mm-hmm. Before his review, he's like, yeah, okay, y'all are reviewing, and I'm out. So
yeah, he's like, you guys are going to review. I'm going to go to California. I'll put my feet in the sand.
I'm going to go home, and if you want to catch up with me, then you can catch up with me all you want. And
you know where to find me.
You know where to find me, and you guys can do whatever you want. And if you want to catch up with me, you can. But I'm guessing the Korean Football Association was like, nah, fam, we're good. And they let him have it. And I was mentioning before you came on the fact that they mentioned the Battle of Ping Pong publicly, which is something they've never done. Any kind of things behind the scenes that would raise an eyebrow. They've always kept it. It's a team issue behind closed doors. This one they let slide. The KFA basically let the Battle of Ping Pong out. That's how bad it got.
I mean, hey, FAFO.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't good at his job. He has not been good at his job. He tap danced through a minefield repeatedly and has never really shown any inclination to develop any humility or any ability to learn, to evolve, to suggest that he is anything other than just a charlatan about all this.
Yes.
He has been riding on his name and something weird that happened in Germany a decade and a half ago.
Yep. Absolutely true. So you end up with Jurgen Klinsmann and a $5 million payday for him to get out the door. Will insert Randy Travis I told you so .gif right here. There were a lot of us that did. And it's disappointing that the Korean Football Association got to the point where they realized, oh, crap. And now you're $5 million out when you probably could have made a better hire.
Yeah, you're $5 million out. Like, sure, he tap danced through the raindrops a bit in the last, couple of weeks. He had some fun with it. In the same sense we've talked about with a lot of teams, we're like, oh, this team is just kind of like doing the cardiac kid thing. Like, yeah, it's fun in the moment, and then you realize that's no way to live your life, and that it's not sustainable, and that what you're left with afterward is just basura. So, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, how is anybody supposed to take anything positive out of this crap?
Yeah. So that's where we are. That was one of the things. Yes, Will. I just simply laugh at you and say, I told you so. With, I assume the head going backwards, the index finger going forward, and cackling going north. Basically, it's like one of these. You lean backward, you point forward, and you cackle. That's basically where folks are with this. We also spent hour number one before Parky came on discussing what's going on with Messi and friends. And Gregory, who has been moved to Botafogo, nice piece of change. Looks like it was about $2.8 million. And it's one less piece that they have to worry about when it comes to trying to get everything all squared away and becoming cap compliant. So Gregory was one of the guys that we had circled, and it turns out Gregory's heading to Botafogo. So they're close. And yes, Will, every day, Malakia. That is absolutely true. Every day, Malakia.
I mean, that can't be the only one, though, right? Because
no.
There's no way in hell this is the end of the line for them. They almost certainly have to have more moves, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at, we were looking at probably some comment, and I put it out there. I said, okay, of the dudes that could probably be available, and these are the high-priced dudes that, I mean, if I'm a GM in Major League Soccer, I ring up Chris Henderson and I'm like, hey, I got some sofa pizza and a couple of pennies between the cushions. We'll take Robert Taylor off your hands. I mean, that's how it's got to be these days, unless you find a suitor outside the country. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how I feel about it. Like you're gonna get some offers, but I mean, even the Tom Bogert piece that came out about it kind of insinuated that none of the teams are going to like bet against themselves and bet against each other on this. They're not going to drive the price up, right? I mean, why would you drive the price up on this when you could just, sit there and, hey, also the whole damn like word salad that came out today that Charlie Bone shared from like the head of like player.
Yeah, we read that
player stuff. Like just the word, just the absolute like, how many words can you put in a sentence that equate to literally nothing in the English language?
Yes, basically, it was a good 5 sentences of they will be compliant. If they're not, we're having conversations with them. So it's like, get back to me in a week.
Yeah, it's just a waste of time, waste of oxygen. Like, man, I will never get that like 15 seconds back of my life. Actually, it was longer than that because I read it like 3 times to make sure that I wasn't having a stroke. It's like you didn't say anything.
No,
all you did was say like, well, teams have to be compliant, and if they're not, we reach out to them and we discuss it. Like that doesn't indicate like what happens if they're not getting into compliance. Yes. What are you going to do? Like tell them, what are you going to do? Start doing like Roman decimation? Then start lining them up and every 10th guy has to get killed? How do you deal with this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure that there would be a team that would probably take that 10th guy in line and you wouldn't have to worry about it. Maddie's crashed the party. Maddie, what's on your mind?
Listen, we're talking about, all things fun and games with, Jurgen Klinsmann and Messi and friends, I just felt like I would just join the chaos,
Sure. Nothing wrong with that.
It's chaos. I literally Y'all, the Messi thing made me laugh. I'm sorry. It made me laugh. It gave me a good little chuckle when I saw it. I was like, I told y'all. We all told y'all.
Mm-hmm.
They think that the cap doesn't apply or anything like that, and they're like, but we have Messi. They're like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, like you just can't do that. And now, like, they're literally, I saw a video the other day, like literally yesterday, of like, wow, Miami's counter press is really amazing. It literally went Newell Boy's way, and they just stood there.
Hey, I mean,
Nothing.
yeah. So, Jared, this is what we're telling folks: get ready to take the to juice box the over for every possible match involving Messi and friends this year.
You have to. You absolutely have to take the over, man. Like, this is. I feel like I am taking crazy pills with all this.
No.
Because
I think anybody who thinks taking crazy pills.
Well, we're about to see a lot of people come crashing back down to earth over Messi and over friends.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, the failure of this front office isn't necessarily Messi. Like, Messi's not the problem. It is the fact that the rest of the roster was constructed with happy thoughts and Elmer's glue that you found in second grade with a lid, like the screw top lid, was glued shut because someone left it open and on its side.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, it is the second time in this franchise's short history that they have ham-fisted a roster construction. Last time they ham-fisted their DPs and they went full Matuidi. They never go full Matuidi. And they did. This time, though, like, the DPs aren't necessarily the issue. It's everything else that you have just bungled.
Mm-hmm.
Repeatedly. New front office. New people. New year, new me. Well, guess what? You relapsed, Miami. You just did it in a different way.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I firmly believe that Inter Miami is the Chelsea of MLS. So,
well, yeah. We're working on FFP, I guess, when it comes to Messi and friends. Hutch says that 0-0-5 formation is sure to be a hit.
honestly, I mean, they have nobody. They literally have no, like all credit to Messi. Messi is great, but literally what I saw was he just, like, once the ball went right past him, he just stood there. I'm like, there's no urgency to go back and defend. Like, no one is going back there to do that. He's never going to do that.
Yeah. Messi is not a defender. This is where he will come back. He will come back and be a part of the process. But in transition, it is going to be a combination of Allen, Aviles, Redondo, Kromoski when he's healthy, Krivtsov, and anybody else literally back there trying to, it's like, okay, y'all run. Well, and Dell to the point. And early on, because of the cap issues, now that it's making more sense, Dell, I can just picture Kamal Miller watching Miami play and laughing his head off. Yeah, he got flipped to Portland. So Kamal Miller's in Portland watching all of this. And Chris McVay got swapped to DC for $150,000 in AM. That's how desperate Miami was to try to become cap compliant. They are,
and they weren't.
No,
they still were not cap compliant. Like, okay, we talk about this whole thing of, like, think of it in the budgeting sense of, like, hey, you need to pay yourself first. You need to make sure that you are, make sure that everything is paid in your house. Make sure your utilities are staying on. Do all that stuff. Be an adult. And I cannot get over the fact that they went out and spent a bunch of money on Julian Gressel. And not that Julian Gressel's a bad player, but Julian Gressel just seemed kind of surplus to what they were doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, as good as Gressel is and can be, he is kind of surplus to what they're trying to do right now. And that's another guy who's coming against Tam and Gam and Am. You created this. You kind of, like, created this problem unnecessarily.
But you wanted to bring in all these stars for Messi and friends. It's Alba, Busquets, Luis Suarez, and it would not surprise me if Suarez ends up being the DP in this, unless you have to keep him at as an AM player because of the Redondo move at U22 to keep all of your U22s. You might not be able to have all of your DPs because of the wording of the law. But I mean, right now, this is going to be one of the most interesting test cases that we've ever seen when it comes to trying to become cap compliant at the wire. How much? I mean, you're gonna end up using your exception. You're going to use your one-time exception and waive somebody, no doubt. That's going to happen. And then you're going to try to see if there are any other folks that can be sent to South America as a part of this. Will says they're going to play Gressel as a straight fullback, and I'm sure that's going to go great with the way the rest of the defense is set.
We're going to see Gressel just right there, just like, I don't know what to do, because he's a phenomenal player, but he's not a defensive-minded individual when it comes to the game. He's not.
He's got one. He has one talent, and he is a defensive liability.
Exactly. And it's like, and when he was with Atlanta, like we had the people behind him to be able to defend with Miles Robinson. We had those people, but like the Miami doesn't have that. So when Gressel goes up and he's going to be doing his thing, there's going to be no one back there to defend the goal, and they're going to be wide open for so many goals. And this is just, I always say this, and this is the one thing that makes me mad. It is always like the teams that will bring in these very, very good players, but for so much money. And it's great. They are all very talented players, but you just can't equivalent like that money with like, oh, we spent this much money, so why aren't we playing good? That doesn't equal that. We literally have had the same conversation with Chelsea and many other clubs. Like the money doesn't equal talent. And we've seen it through all the development that we've seen through all the other clubs from the younger levels. It's come on, y'all. Haven't we learned? Apparently not, because Messi and friends, I don't even know.
Jarrett Maddie's beside herself when it comes to Messi and friends right now. Jason posted the formation at one point of what Messi and friends looked like last night going up against Newell's Old Boys, and I had no idea what the hell it was. I mean, literally everybody was in like this 10-yard grouping of each other, and it's like if you looked at the graphic, then it's like you want to go down the wings, you're wide open, bruh.
Well, here's the thing, man. To close out that point, Julian Gressel is going to contribute to the most goals in MLS this season, good and bad.
Yes, he is.
Will. Because I will stand by it. If you tell me that he is top 3 in the league in assists, I'm absolutely putting a juice box on that. Because of his ability to deliver a ball, the offensive talent they have that has him kind of pushed down on the we need to worry about this guy rating. He's going to have room. He's going to have the ability to put a ball in. But if you play him without somebody behind him, man, he's going to be chasing.
DeAndre Yedlin's heart's going to explode. I mean, I feel sorry for DeAndre Yedlin down the attacking left, and DeAndre Yedlin being on the right-hand side of the defense. I think by the first international break, DeAndre Yedlin's heart's going to explode, and he might need the time. He might get a call up, but he may need the time to recover physically from everything that's been going on in the first section of the season. So,
gosh, and Yedlin is such a good player too, and it sucks that this is the position that he's kind of being thrown into, and. I think Yedlin's a great player, and it's going to suck, especially from that standpoint of, I mean, U.S. men's national team too. It's like, oh gosh, like, I don't know. Like, sorry, I just saw one of the comments. They're still trying to make Yedlin a center back.
Well, I mean, they might they may have to at this point. Yedlin in theory is going to be,
think of it as like a right. If you play with 3 at the back, think of him as like a right center back, and it's going to flare out because like the formation isn't going to be static.
No,
but if Gressel's getting forward as a right wing back, which is where I think he is at his most deadly and most effective, you're also going to keep Yedlin from getting too far forward. Like,
oh jeez.
So you can't have both of them, like, unless you want to. You could do this. Okay. If you want to get weird.
Okay, let's get weird.
Oh, okay.
You want to get weird? do what Atlanta did in 22 and do what Scotland does. Scotland has two incredibly gifted left side players, left side fullbacks in Andy Robertson and Kieran Tierney. Kieran Tierney, though, literally never healthy, like the Ken Griffey Jr. of the mid 2000s of soccer players. You can do what they do, which is they overload things and they basically shift. They can basically shift the entire formation to the left and rotate everything. If you wanted to get those two guys forward, you could, and just overload things and bring everybody to the right, or just run like a student body right, like a ship listing to the right. If you wanted to get both of them forward, you're just going to be really overloading on that side. Maybe you get somebody on the weak side. I want to see how you do it. I want to see how you deal with it. But yeah, that, and to Will's point, like, you got to have somebody do the job with Busquets, because he ain't going to be able to run every single day over and over and over and over and over again. I think also, Four right. Yedlin might, as we plot all this, Yedlin might be sacrificed to the Gam gods.
Yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think what you're looking at here with Will's idea of leaving Busquets with just one other dude, that other dude in a healthier setup would be Benja Kremoski. So you're pairing a younger dude with an older dude. So that I think would be how that is. It could be. I think in a perfect world it would end up being Kremoski and the back line being a combination of Allen, Avilas. Oh boy. Allen, Avilas, Krivtsov, and Yedlin at the back, unless he is sacrificed to the Gam gods, and then you've got to figure out what's going on. So that four at the back would be that something in combination. Yeah, Will, two in the midfield is what I'm thinking with Kremoski and Busquets. That would be, but you're still a couple of weeks away from having Benja Kremoski healthy or healthy enough from sports hernia surgery, mind you, to be a part of that about that defense that's going to be running. Literally, it's like, if Miami plays those two in the midfield defense does not exist. But that's what we're looking at here. That's what we're staring at. Alex is back from a 40-minute meeting. Please repeat anything that he missed. We were talking about Jurgen Klinsmann, and we're also talking about Messi and friends, and any concerns that you may have going into this weekend with Atlanta United. What questions do you have heading into Atlanta United and the match that we know is going to happen? It is going to happen, a match against Sporting Kansas City. It is going to be in Fort Lauderdale. We know that there will be reports on it. It won't be live, but we'll know what happened. Unlike other clubs, we'll sit there and they'll have a match and then just agree that the match didn't happen. So it was technically an unmatch. I'm looking at you, Toronto and Columbus. No, nothing happened, and nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. That's not going to be the case with Atlanta and Sporting. You'll come up with news. So literally, Klinsmann is what we talked about in hour number 2. We talked about Inter Miami and Messi and friends and all of those concerns, because Gregory is now at Botafogo, good piece of business, and they still got business to do. But the league came out, one of the hires up in the league, one of the EVPs, said that we're keeping an eye on it. They will be compliant. They will be roster compliant. We're keeping an eye on it. And if they're not, then we're confident that they'll do things that will make them roster compliant. So basically 5 sentences of saying, yeah, we'll be okay, even if we're not. So let's see. So Alex, this question is, where are you going to park this season? Apparently parking costs more than the seats. Wow. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's keep an eye on that heading for the home opener. Will, if you play that lineup and everyone's going to play sit and counter ball and going to run riot, like I said, take the over. Take the over. Over. That's an easy one.
I mean, at least you don't have to really you don't have to worry about Redondo really being a part of that problem anymore.
And that's true, Redondo. Yeah,
you don't really you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sounds like that's in the process of falling through, or at least hitting a very, very large roadblock that I don't know that they'll be able to get past for financial reasons.
Oh, boy.
That being said, Let's wait to see it become completely dead because, as we know from experience, negotiations in Argentina can be very up and down, like 9s and 1s. It is the George Babyface Nelson from Oh Brother Art Thou of negotiations. On top of the world 1 minute, not the next.
Yes, and to your point, Wanarongo, as of 17 minutes ago, bottom of the hour, Redondo's transfer fell due to the payment method. MLS regulations do not allow him to transfer all the money in the terms that Argentinos juniors and the footballers representation wanted. So TNT has Redondo's deal to Inter Miami collapsed. So the Federico Redondo usage of the U22, that is not working now. So now you have, oh boy. Now you still got to figure it out. You thought you were going to end up with somebody, and now you not.
You just
The payment
you
methodology. No,
you can't make it up.
No,
it's just so I can't. This is so funny.
I mean,
like, jeez, not good.
Due to the payment methodology, I've never heard it referred to as that. And so you got TNT, Wanarongo, all the greatest hits in the tier ones who are referring to it that way. It could happen and so literally it's going to have to be unloading of players and trying to create space as you were looking for Redondo as a U22. And so now the folks overseas that were interested, who thought that they were going to get Redondo, might be back in the game. Yeah, 4-card. The Federico Redondo transfer to Inter Miami is off, apparently, in its current form. So the payment methodology is apparently why it is not happening. So methodology.
You got to be careful where you're going to talk about and go into right now because most of the windows are closed.
Right. Yeah. So the folks that were interested in Europe were interested, and they thought that they were going to get there, but now they're not. And obviously, you're going to have to wait now until the summer window, unless you're going to play in like the UAE or something like that. But South American windows are still open, depending on the country. Could be another couple of weeks, could be a month. Eastern European windows are still open. The main European leagues, though, are shut down for another 3 or 4 months, and so those that were interested in Redondo can now get back to being re-interested. But the Inter Miami Messi and Friends chase of Federico Redondo in its current form is now off. So much for having a young midfielder to help out with your defense. And so now we are back to the GAM gods and your one-time release and trying to figure out how, with a week to go, you're going to become roster compliant. I feel like, we almost need the Final Jeopardy music here in this particular case and trying to figure out how this is going to go down. Derek, yeah, that's too bad for Miami. Oh, yeah, that's too bad.
And into the whole word salad of not saying anything. I mean, okay, let's see what it looks like next week. Let's see if any other moves get made. Let's see if someone's willing to give up, like, I don't know, a Shake Shack gift card for a player.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll see what happens. I mean, anything could happen here. Shake Shack's good. It's fine.
Yes, it's absolutely
fine. I would prefer if you're gonna go gift card. I mean, Bell Street Burritos. It's much better options, better food. Just don't go with Chipotle, and we're fine.
Yes, 4-card. Watch the league make a rule that you can replace injured players with the same type of player. Basically, the Facundo Farias rule. U22, DP for DP. Yes, Abby, absolutely. Final Jeopardy music for the week. And as much as I'd like to play it, I don't think we can because then we get in trouble with the music police. But yes, Inter Miami and Messi and Friends are going to be a fun watch for all the wrong reasons. But I would still maintain that if we knew it as much as all of this conjecture and supposition that we have and thinking that, okay, you've got to do this, it'd be great. I think it would be even better once again, the larger picture, if we knew the rules of engagement. if we knew how much work Messi and friends had to do to become cap compliant, if we knew how much space teams had so they could sit there and be like, we look at the National Hockey League, we know what the caps are. We look at the NBA, we know what we can do with the trade generators. We can do those kinds of things. We can't do that with Major League Soccer. So while we make fun of Messi and friends, the larger picture is we'd like to know the rules of engagement here so we really can be informed in our decisions. That to me is the gap here.
I feel like, yeah, exactly. And you have issues too. Like I keep going back to the Ibarra situation with Atlanta United and like, having that cap compliancy and like not really knowing how that's going to work and how many slots we have for players. It would make a lot more sense if those rules were communicated. That way we know what we have for all of our teams. That way we can kind of understand and, know more about like what these transfers and what is at stake. And I feel like right now we're all just kind of like, oh, we got to trade for Gam.
Mm-hmm.
Sick. What does that mean?
Yeah. So Hutch, being our resident poli-sci guy, says that this is the MLS variation of the Overton window. And I had to look this up. The Overton window is, quote, the range of policies politically acceptable to the mainstream population at a given time. It's also known as the window of discourse. That an idea's political viability depends mainly on whether it falls within this range rather than on a politician's individual preference. The window frames the range of policies a politician can recommend without appearing too extreme to gain or to keep public office given the climate of public opinion at the time. Man, that is deep poli-sci down here. Reflects what society believes, which can be easily influenced by truth and facts as it can be by inaccurate or deceptive information. And that's what I don't like.
Yep.
I don't like, for a double negative, and my mom will kill me, I don't like not having all the information for an intelligent discussion. We can make fun of Messi and friends all we want. And they should be, because of, once again, how they're trying to navigate the waters of salary in Major League Soccer. First time they did it, they had 5 DPs. You can't do that. You're only allowed 3. And I still laugh at Santi Sosa checking Blaise Matuidi into retirement. But that was the first time. Now, this time, with all of this roster assembly being the way that it was and is, and them having to scramble. And I mean, this is going to Old Country Buffet at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning or at 12:30 in the afternoon after service. All of those eggs that are there, they've been scrambled, man. And you got to figure out that big plate and how you're going to navigate it from here. How much room do you have either for breakfast or brunch? And you're going straight to the egg plate. This has been so scrambled, and we don't have all the information, and that's what I don't like about this. If we had all of the info and could deal with it properly, then we could sit there and make informed decisions about, okay, Gam gods, you get this. One individual can go here, you can do this, and still make it. We don't have those options. And it's disappointing that we have to have all of this conjecture. It's fun conjecture, don't get me wrong, but at least we'd like to sit here and have all these different ideas as to how possibly it could happen. Tom, are we at the point where MLS has matured enough as a league to eliminate all these stupid rules? All the U22s, et cetera, and just go to a straight salary cap? Or do we think, as much as we may not like it, that there still needs to be some type of restraints in place, just so frustrating for how convoluted it is? And Hutch says, if you have to ask, you can't afford to play. All right, Jarrett, what do you think with Tom? Do we just go straight salary cap and damn the torpedoes, or do we need these designations to help out those that want to invest in their own ways and build in their own different ways?
I'm sorry, it's giving me a migraine. Miami in general. How you move forward, man, I don't know. Like, do you just scrap the whole thing? Because at some point you need to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to make changes to keep up with the rest of the world. You've been making so much progress against other nations, making progress against teams in other nations, against Mexico. You got to keep expanding this out. You cannot keep the restrictor plate on forever.
No.
Now, you take the restrictor plate off. Does someone not adjust their track bar enough? And do they just hit the wall coming out of turn 4?
Yeah. Or does somebody
Miami is repeatedly hitting the wall. Miami is repeatedly like trying to use the wall to slingshot around the track, except they did it at a direct angle repeatedly, which is not how this works.
No, that's not how Ross Chastain did it. No.
At some point though, you do have to see about just opening things up, but I think you do it bit by bit. I don't think you just sling the whole thing wide open. In the sense that I think you protect people from themselves, you protect teams from themselves in a way. Now, if you're able to do that, God only knows, man. We'll see what happens. You have
those teams that are, to continue your NASCAR analogy, very, very adept at being like Bill Elliott at Talladega when he set the track record at 209 miles an hour in the Coors number 9 Ford Thunderbird. But to your point, not everyone, like the Elliots, when they build an engine, can handle how things are on a super speedway. And that is why you ended up with restrictor plate racing to the extent that you do. I would be happy with a cap, with a straight cap, and let folks navigate it to that point. Knowing full well, but I think the larger point here is this. If you go cap, straight cap, I think that you have to have a floor. You have to have a floor in this discussion if you're going to have a cap. You've got to have all of these teams that want to invest to get to a point, but you've got to have that. You've got to have that floor. Folks will spend, ceiling fine, whatever, great. But you've got to have folks know what the floor is, so no one's the Oakland A's or the Pittsburgh Pirates to mix our sports.
Yeah, the Oakland A's is even funnier though, right now, when you consider the fact that they don't really have like a setup right now with their stadium, and they're like negotiating all this. And my favorite part of this is if Oakland gets petty and is like, we'll negotiate this. You're going to pay us a pretty dime. You can't just dip out of here. Also Major League Baseball and your commissioner, who is outgoing in 2029, they will hire someone worse. I swear to you, they will hire someone worse.
Spoken like a true baseball guy.
There is an unwritten rule in the universe. Mm-hmm. Every baseball commissioner always has to have someone worse follow him so that he looks good. Yes. That being said, Manfred did Speedy. He has put in rules with like the pitch clock and staying in the box. I do like them. I've enjoyed that part. Mm-hmm. He absolutely nailed that this year. I would give him his flowers on that. There's a lot of stuff I will not give him his flowers on. I want to throw a fish at his face for the ghost runner on second nonsense to start the extra innings like we're in middle school.
The international softball
like a child, you grumpy old man. And then to sit there and call the stadium in Oakland a hunk of steel and basically line up the move for them. Yeah, man. I hope that Oakland takes everybody to the clean ears over this. You took their team away from them. You did everything you could to make sure that you executed a major league in a successful way. Mm-hmm. The people who run the stadium have no obligation to be nice to you at this point.
No. And Vegas is like, you want the Flamingo property, you still got some work to do. And by the way, John Fisher owns the San Jose Earthquakes. And so Quakes fans, parenthetically, Jarrett, close parenthetical expression. I have that to look forward to. News and notes, Joseph Paintsil's landed in L.A. He's at LAG from Gink for around $9 million. Minnesota apparently has a cool jersey. They have a cool jersey, even though they're on their second substitute teacher. And Vancouver Whitecaps have released their 50th anniversary jersey. By the way, if you have not seen Seattle's, that is strong. So Seattle's
is the best one. Mm-hmm. Minnesota's is the best one in theory. I don't like the execution.
Yeah,
it looks like the concept of the Minnesota one to me is outstanding. It looks too airbrushed for me. And maybe it looks better in person. Like the shots I saw of it, like I love the idea of this, More than I love the execution. Maybe I just need to see it live. Maybe I need to see it another way. It just, the idea of it is flawless. The execution kind of, feels like it's airbrushed to me.
Yes.
Maybe I'm in the minority. That's okay.
No, Seattle's is the best one. I love Seattle's. That one is really, really cool. I saw that in the Minnesota one, and I was like, oh, so they are on their second head coach, but hey, they got a cool jersey. That's kind of nice.
Yes, because they spent all this money on a new kit and not a new coach because we're a week away from the season, but they haven't announced the head coach. They're on the second interim. I hope he leaves. I hope they get to the third interim.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get like Year of the Four Emperors up in here.
Oh my god,
Oh my
that to me. Apparently, the LAFC release had their assistant kit manager Will Farrell, and they had that for a release. The Austin release for the Year of the Armadillo. Very cool story behind it. That's a great piece of Austin history. Remembering the Armadillo bar and music hall. That's a great idea. I mean, it's more of green and sand this year for the Armadillo kit for Austin FC. So very, very cool. Maddie, Tom wants to know if you've seen the quote leaked leaked close parentheses kit. What did you think about Atlanta's?
Ooh, I actually like it. I really do. I like the story. I like the Phoenix. I like that whole like visual of it all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited because I feel like we haven't, I'll say a little story. Me and my dad, we always had a like funny joke going on whenever we watch Atlanta United with the mint jerseys that we wore. We always did not play well when we wore the jerseys. So every time we saw we were wearing the mint jerseys, we always were like, oh, well, we're losing. Like, there it is. But I like the color. I really like the way that our kit's designed. I think it's just different.
Yeah.
And I like that it brings in a cool piece of Atlanta history too. I really enjoy it. I think it's going to be a cool one. I don't know if I want to spend the money to get it. I might wait until there's a sale on Fanatics and I can get it then. But I really do like it. I think the kit's the forest kit. Thank you, Abby. I apologize. I like it. I think it's a good kit. I really do. I like it a lot. I think it's going to be a better one than some of the other ones. I'm still going to say to this day, I really want us to do a gold kit. I really do.
I miss the concrete and cherry pie one myself. I actually like that one from the early years. I actually like the concrete and cherry pie, but that's just me. Will, was it Cincinnati in year 2 who hired the same interim 2 or 3 times? That might have been when.
Cincinnati was in hell for multiple years. It's very funny to see Cincinnati like thriving to this day. Good for them.
Mm-hmm.
They were in a special hell for a while.
Yes, I'm trying to see. I think that was with like Jaap Stam in and out, Ron Jans in and out, all those different ownership, media players, and staff. Don't want to know about that. I need like the up to, okay. So, Yohan DeMay was the interim on more than one occasion because Alan Cook was released in May. DeMay was the interim for 5. So for 3 months, he was the interim. Ron Jans got hired. Ron Jans lasted 8 months. DeMay came back in for another 3 months. Then they brought in Jaap Stam. Jaap Stam lasted for more than a year. Then they brought in Tyrone Marshall. So, yes, Yohan DeMay was the interim twice for FC Cincinnati. So let's see. Will is suggesting just steal the Legion kit. You want gold? Steal the Legion kit.
I'm going to. At this point, I'm going to. I've heard nothing. Radio silence. Radio silence. Update. Still have not received the Lady Electra kit. Mm-hmm. Very upset about it. We're gonna have some words. I'm gonna be close in Huntsville. We're gonna be close to Birmingham. Maybe a little pit stop, and I'll be like, "Hey,
Knock
Where-
on the door. Whereas, excuse
I'm
me,
like knocking at the door. I'm like, let me in,
sir. Hello.
please.
And so there goes Jarrett with the Irish goodbye. Dell said that you deserve the Lady Electra. Oh, Jarrett's back
Thank
in.
you.
You hitting buttons again, sir?
No, it's doing it on its own. It is
It's the end of the week.
no, what it is it's the basically the universe in big Minnesota trying to silence me for making fun.
True. That could be. Tom with an interesting Dell Jarrett went over his minutes. Tom with an interesting thought. 5 stripes in sash form. That could be very intriguing if done the right way. That could be very intriguing. From Huntsville to Birmingham. Do the Lady Electra Gold with the stripes in it for this 5 stripes look. That'd be pretty sweet.
I agree.
That'd be pretty cool. All right, so here's the rundown once again for today. There's stuff to watch. We know that you want to watch a lot of things, and it is going to be a busy day here on the network. It is the high school game of the week tonight, 7:30. Just the one match. It is varsity boys, Chapel Hill and Alexander. Maddie, you had a good conversation.
I did. I had a great conversation with both Alexander head coach Jose Cuellar as well as Chapel Hill's head coach, Matt James Leach. It was really fun getting to talk to both of them. They both had a lot to say about the program and I found this out from Coach Leach. He told me that they kind of do a little tournament of all the schools up in Douglasville. They call it the DC Derby.
Okay.
And they have the trophy from this year, but it was something that Coach Cuellar had set up. And so basically they do a little tournament there and they have their own little trophy and everything. So it's going to be a fun matchup tonight. It's kind of a rival-ish. Yes. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So he told me that yesterday. I'm very excited for what both of these sides are going to do. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. So that'll be on the network at 7:30 from Alexander, just the one game. And that'll be on our social media platforms. Once again, just keep your notifications up to figure out how you can listen to it. Blast Off Battle, the doubleheader, 5 and 8 Eastern time, 4 and 7 here in the Central Time Zone. I'll have the call on both of those matches. Those will be on the live site, our Mixlr site, soccerdownhere.mixlr.com. Once again, we'll have the link in our social media, and so all you have to do is just click, and it goes to our live site, and you can listen to the live matches there. It'll be fun. So once again, this weekend, doubleheader blast-off battle today. Today, game of the week, Chapel Hill and Alexander. Both of those on the network in their various forms and places. That's tonight. Tomorrow, Yellowhammer Brewing here in Huntsville from 6 to 8 local time, 7 to 9 Eastern, 6 to 8 local. We're going to be posting it probably like we always do. It'll be on all of our social media platforms so you can see what's going on. Yellowhammer to celebrate Blast-Off Battle. Then the double header on Sunday. Brunch and in the afternoon to close everything out. And yes, and Abby, get your Marshall Islands scarf. I like how you think. And Abby, I love the idea of having something at the supporters groups and making sure that they know about our Marshall Islands scarf and our fundraiser for our friends at the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. There's the scarf. Once again, Maddie is an international star now that she is modeling this thing for them on their website. This helps out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, the last country on the planet to start a national soccer program. And we've kept you up to date with all of their stuff. So there's the scarf. You can pick it up locally and have the Abstermobile deliver it to you for $32. If you want it shipped outside the zone, it's $32 plus $5. Or with Abby's idea, we'll probably end up having it available for you at supporters at the SG tailgate for Atlanta United. You can place your order with me, and Abby can deliver it to you, but we'll work out the logistics. So it's in the Discord how to order for now, but I like Abby's idea of having it available at the tailgate for the supporters groups. And it helps out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation and helps them build their program. So once again, there it is. Reach out to me, reach out to the show, and you can pick up your Marshall Islands scarf. Don't know where in Yellowhammer yet. Don't know if it's in the main area or the Lost Highway Lounge. I just know it's at Yellowhammer. That much I do know. So it's like 7 to 9 East, 6 to 8 local. We're going to catch up with our friends from Huntsville City. They're going to bring folks. I think we're going to have Darren Van Tassel from South Georgia Tormenta hanging out with us. It'll be fun. And so Abby is working on a flyer for the Marshall Islands stuff. Big game week in fantasy. Yes, Dell, triple captain Holland if you can. It's going to be busy. So last thoughts, Jarrett, before we go.
Why does Columbus's kit look like Charlie Brown?
That's the running gag.
It is so funny. It's so funny. Someone made the joke that they're not going to be able to kick the soccer ball because Lucy's going to come up and steal it every time.
Correct.
Oh, God, that'd be amazing. What are we doing with our lives if we're not like taking like firing from the hip and taking shots at each other about our kits? You live your best life. Enjoy making fun of each other's kits and defending yours to the death, unless it's really, really bad, in which case you don't have to defend it. But remember, have fun with it. Also remember that we're almost a week away now, and Minnesota still does not have a permanent head coach. I have no idea what they're doing.
Maddie, last thoughts before we go.
Gonna be fun. Make sure y'all tune in to Alexander and Chapel Hill tonight. Also, make sure y'all tune in to the Blast-Off battle. It's gonna be a lot of fun. As Jarrett said, Echo, keep making fun of other people's jerseys if they suck, and make sure you keep an eye out for Columbus Crew and the Charlie Brown kit.
And make sure that you're the first person to remove.
I swear to God, if they do not play the theme like Schroeder on the piano when they walk out for their first game.
Please. Can they wear it when they come to the Bends and then that's their music when they're showing their starting 11?
Yeah.
Yes.
If that's the kit they're wearing at the Bends, we have contacts in the people who run in stadium audio and in stadium video.
We should pitch it to them.
Yeah, we have to we have to get like the Charlie Brown theme going. When we introduce them.
Yes. And then make sure.
And if they win 6-0, fine. That's fine.
That's fine. I don't care.
It's worth it. It's like you're laying on the ground after getting pummeled, but you got a good insult in ahead of time.
Yes. And so I'm waiting for if you remove the ball and then you end up with Charlie Brown on his back and you hear this big "Ogg" from the Halo board, that would make my day. We got to make that happen. We
have so many options for so many good jokes.
And that's we will keep an eye on it as we go. So we're at a week and counting for getting ready for the regular season in Columbus. A week from tomorrow, Kevin Egan, the new host of MLS 360 on the English language side. We'll catch up with Kevin next week. We'll catch up with as many of our friends as we can next week to get you ready for what's going on. But it's a very busy Friday here at SDH. Very fun Friday in Alabama and Georgia with the live. Set your notifications. We're going to be all over the place. And so that means that we got to go because we got stuff to do. So for Maddie, who's Maddie Cruz on the 1s and 2s, for Jared, who came in on the day where we destroyed Messi and friends because of cap issues and destroyed Jurgen Klinsmann because, I don't know, he deserved it. It's been a very busy day. Thanks to our friend Michael Parkhurst and Beyond Goals Mentoring for hanging out with us for another Friday, and thanks for hanging out with us as you always do. So for everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha platial. It's the end of the show. That means I get to do this. We will see you starting tonight in our various locales, and we'll be back at it again on Monday morning. Since it is the end of the show, it means I get to do this.